Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions, and today I bring in Brent Zahradnik.
Hey Danny,
How you doing?
doing fantastic, fantastic. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while. I'm happy to finally be on.
Sounds good. Right, so today, first time you've been on the show fully. Obviously, we met up. We've known each other a while, but we met up in Prague and we've done some mini podcasts where you're having a chat there. And I want to continue on brand analytics. Michael Hartman come on just as brand analytics was in beta. We kind of done a walkthrough back then, but I think a new reflection on it would be quite good. There's a new URL for accessibility we can add
That's right.
to
That's right.
show notes, makes it easier to access. And you've been playing around with it. I've been playing around with it for a while. Let's just quickly go over brand analytics, just quick basics of the interface, given the URL, etc. And then let's go into talking about stuff out of we can look at using it differently, especially things like product research.
Sure. So the new URL that I recommend that everyone uses is simply brandanalytics.amazon.com, or if you're in the EU marketplaces, you can use .de or .fr. And then that's going to take you to a slightly different page that you can see a drop down on the top right, and it says hello, insert brand name here, and it's kind of like the account switcher in Amazon. It allows you to use different accounts, to really run the utility. That doesn't really matter, I guess, too much for what we're kind of talking about here, though, which is like the search terms bit,
Yeah.
because to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have access to .com, the results you get out of one account are the same you'd get out of any other account you have. But it's just at the agency level that I kind of operate at, and the accounts you have access to, it's nice to be able to see, Mexican account, Canadian account, U.S. account, German, French, and I pulled some data on that too. I can talk about.
Cool. So let's quickly go over the bits we want to cover. So a bit I want to talk about, and this is purely on the fly that we'll do, is if we'll go through this now, is kind of using it for another way to start product research basis. It's not to replace any of the tools out there or anything else. Suddenly brand analytics isn't a tool to do product research. It's just like looking at it from a different perspective. Well, how can we use it? Because we're basing on search terms. We understand search frequency runs in order. So at the moment, I'm looking at it, for instance, on the US, search frequency number one is Bluetooth headphones. Obviously, we can change that by the reporting range as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, go back over a period of time. I find it quite buggy. I don't know about you. Maybe the browser, you may find it buggy, may not. But sometimes they don't always set right the reporting, like using the different daily, monthly, and quarterly. What
I
about
find
you?
it works pretty well on my end, but my hack for that is basically every month I go and I blow out my Chrome cache entirely, so things tend to run pretty smooth.
Cool.
Just have to re-sign into a few things.
Excellent. So one of the things I wanted to run over with you, what I kind of like about it, and one thing I've been playing around with is to look at it to do product research. And what I meant from is starting with the keyword first, but obviously we've got rows. At the moment, I've just got 1.185 million or so rows showing here where I've not filtered it and I haven't filtered the report. Basically, once I logged in, that's the default position that it's in at the moment. We can thin that out a bit later. But what I like about it is if you want to start thinking about, well, you haven't got any ideas of kind of products that you're looking for, you can use the search frequency. You can download the report, which is, I think, ends up being about 40, 50, 60 meg file. And then what you can do is just scroll down to about 13, 14, 15,000 and start looking through search terms there. So what we can then plumb those back in. Can't remember the one just before we started the call, there was a couple of obvious ones.
I
Obviously, we're
think the
not
one
going to go
example you gave was oyster grill or something like that,
oyster
right?
grill. Yeah, I
And then
mean,
we were
not
looking at
perfect.
oyster related products, maybe a bit
Yeah,
seasonal, maybe appropriate for people who live near the ocean, but
exactly.
yeah.
So, but the idea is just flicking through to see what catches your eye because you've got a lot of brand names and single words here which are going to be absolutely useless. But what it does, it starts to maneuver you away from like the bottom end of the pool and the top end of the pool and find you somewhere in the middle of the type of products that you could look to source. That doesn't mean when you pick the keyword that's going to be right and you're going to get what you want from this. But if you didn't want to do that, for instance, because there's a lot of data to scroll through, you could actually start with a search term itself. Like I think I gave the example on the call before. I just typed in oil, which could mean anything, right? Obviously, you're going to get stuff come up like CBD oil, essential oils and stuff. But again, if you carry on scrolling through the search.
Yeah, and Amazon's nice enough to, if you click on the search term, actually bring us to the page. And so we can see what the results look like real quick. And then with the number 1, number 2, number 3 clicked ASINs.
Yeah, so this rose oil is pretty competitive. But that's what I'm trying to get to is that just scrolling through those alone by just picking a single word and see where that search term kind of takes you. It just gives you that new nuance on product research, because when you're using product research tools, you're relying on putting in the search yourself and then going through the discovery, or you use their pool of products, don't you? Which only has so many products in, which then people are left fishing from the same pool. So if I scroll down again now, jet oil, MTC oil, there's some weird stuff coming up.
Yeah, grapefruit oil is the one.
It's like Cockney rhyming slang. Now we've got, instead of oil, we've got cactus soil.
Well, how the search works, if you pay attention to some of the ways that it structures the results. So if you have the word soil, just because it has the OIL in there, it also will return. Yeah, which is cedarwood essential oil. That one's 22,000 search frequency for the week of 24th to 30th of March. Fairly recent.
Yeah. Lemon oil. What's lemon oil? That's around the 30,000 mark. Quite low price points. No, actually, there's a few in there. Let's have a look.
Almost 11,000 results just for oil, which is a tremendous amount of things to look through for sure.
Yeah, the search volume a bit low on this is 6,000. But obviously, you'd elaborate on your search terms going on from there. But the idea of the process is to go and use this tool. Scroll down and just randomly look at search terms, look at it in reverse, and then start to build a picture of going into your product research process with all your other tools. Do you want to talk about some of the ways that you've been utilizing it as well?
Yeah, sure. One other thing I want to add before we wrap on this part, though, is the oyster thing we talked about earlier. So we came with the oyster grill, but then you just take the term oyster and type that in. That's a pretty unique keyword. You're not going to find that in a lot of other things. We came up with oyster shucking knives and oyster storage containers, like all these other specific ancillary products that kind of relate to that same central one. And, if you're trying to build a brand and have like a lineup of things, that's a more appealing approach than just maybe sourcing a one-off thing here and there, I think. So, and all those were still in that, search frequency rank within the top 1.18 million or whatever. I'm sure there's millions of search terms that aren't in this data because Amazon's only showing us like some of it, right?
Yeah. And how far have you noticed it's taking back for periods as well? Because one other way that you could utilize it is an example. Let's say you want to start looking for Halloween products or seasonal products to sell next year.
Right.
You can then just use the reporting ranges in over that period to see what sells well and what the search terms are of the frequency in that period, and then work back off of there as well. It's just as another idea.
Oh, it's a fantastic idea because you wouldn't get much of that at all if you search for February. No one's looking for Halloween costumes in February, but you start to look at October and then you're hitting the gold there. Yeah.
What other ways are you using it?
Well, we're using some of the ways that you kind of mentioned with Mike on the other call. I mean, if you're putting in single or double word keywords and then just having it sorted by search frequency, it's kind of worth noting that if you enter 2 keywords in the search bar, they show up exactly in that order. They have to show up exactly in that order somewhere in the search term. So you're really narrowing your results by doing that. So we usually start with a single word and then kind of download that data and work from there. That's a really useful way to do it. So you're not really going to find a ton of long tail terms, but you're certainly going to, kind of settle the debate about which ones are the highest volume, assumed highest volume. Really, what we're seeing is a search frequency. It's a popularity contest, not necessarily
in terms of sales. Yeah. The one that I've just noticed here, just doing a search from the beginning of October, Halloween costumes for women is frequency of 5. What else is there? Halloween decorations is 16. Just scrolling through now. Halloween costumes for girls is 36. So again, starts to give you some ideas of what kind of Halloween products to do. It's okay picking a time of year, but you might pick the wrong product that doesn't really sell in that period. But
well, here we go. More recently too, if we look at this same time frame in March, if I put in Easter, we have about 2,500 rows, and number 28 here, Easter basket stuffers. So that's like a very kind of gift purchase oriented thing. And I see the top results are Legos, toys for kids, like a slime thing. Oh yeah, some of these slime products are real popular. So these things are probably flying off the shelf at Amazon. Number 28 here, that's really high up.
I think what it is how do you find that niche in the right time periods to get the right balance? Because obviously, we can do a research and it's a no-brainer that iPhone 8 cases are going to sell, but can you compete there? Right. So it's truly just really about sitting down and playing around with the data and seeing what you can pull up, because obviously you have to add that relationship of how many search terms are there that are that can be utilized that are going to give you macro conversions. Do you see what I mean? Because you don't want to end up picking a niche that you go, oh, this looks really good, but it's a one-horse race. It's a single keyword or a single search term. Sorry. So you need to get that balance between, do I have an array of search terms and how well can I compete in that market?
The thing that I'm also thinking about is, some of the ways we use it too is like as a reverse ASIN. So if you have a competitor product, you can put in the ASIN in that second search area next to the search term one, and just to the right, and then set the different time frames for that, and see all the search terms that they show up in the first three, number 1, 2, 3 clicked ASIN slots. Yeah. That's really, really useful. And then we use those results as like keywords to target or things to stem from. Or we use those as targets for PATA, like ASIN targeting. And
when you say STEM, do you want to explain to the audience what you mean by STEM?
Yeah, sure thing. So a good example I had, I took a screenshot of earlier that I have in front of me here, is like pillows, right? So you put in the word pillow and you get like thousands of results. I think it's 4,300 some results in the US. But then let's take a look at something like neck pillow. There's a lot of searches for neck pillow, but that's a little bit more refined, right? That's looking for something a little bit further down the funnel, a bit more specific, has a function. But if you put in neck pillow as like a phrase match in one of your advertising campaigns, you're going to get a lot of terms that are related to that, that kind of stem from that. So like neck pillow for men, neck pillow for side sleepers, neck pillow for, square, neck pillow square, like maybe it's a square format pillow. Yeah. Those would all be useful things that would stem from that same thing. So that's cool. A good application of like a phrase match in a campaign to get real technical.
Yeah. Well, it just brought round to the thinking there is that same thing with the product research. Straight away, as soon as you've done you found something that you like, you can then reverse ASIN from here. So if you haven't got a software package, I don't know. I know it's Amazon's product, but have you compared it to for the market leaders out there who do reverse ASIN? And result.
Yeah, I mean the amount of results that you get from Brent Analytics is far less, right? So those third-party tools, I don't know if you mentioned specific ones in the show, but we have a couple we've used in the past and one or two we use currently. There's a lot of them out there. Everybody knows them. Yeah. They give a huge amount of results because they have these databases that they've built over time, and you're going to get a lot more long tail stuff out of there. I think really the focus on Brent Analytics is getting the things that are in the top of Amazon's echelon here, that are going to be undoubtedly the highest volume. And if you run that for a couple different time periods, you can maybe chart out how that's changed over time, going back to that kind of seasonality idea we mentioned. So you're going to get a lot less results, but they are more refined and more clear on what is the search frequency. And this data is from Amazon. I mean, we're doing it on the Amazon.com domain. Those ones from third parties, those might be good estimates. Obviously, that little loophole with the search volume kind of thing has since been closed. A lot of these companies are trying to estimate that. But that's information that is useful, but not maybe precise. This is a lot more accurate and precise, I think. So that's useful in itself. It's actually incredible that we have access to this now. I really thought that when it first came out, someone at Amazon was going to get fired. Put a URL publicly when they shouldn't have.
Makes sense. Is there anything else you would like to add before we go?
Two things. One thing I think people are a bit confused about is some of these metrics that are available through Brent Analytics, and I wanted to clear that up.
Yes.
So number one click share is just the percentage of the total clicks that ASIN received. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is like the click-through rate of the ASIN. Okay, it's not the click-through rate. It's just the number, the percentage of the total clicks that it received from,
From
all the
all ASINs
that occurred. Yeah, for all ASINs.
Yeah. And
those numbers are not going to add up to 100% across the top three. They shouldn't at all.
Yeah.
And same thing kind of goes with conversion share. It does not represent the conversions for a given search term. It just is basically the percentage of total sales that each of those ASINs received for that keyword. So it's not, yet again, a conversion rate. So the metrics are a bit confusing there, and I just want to clear that up in case people are confused with it.
Yeah, I mean, we find that, or I don't, but Ellis finds that, is that the way that Amazon labels stuff is different to what we get on the front end to what's in the API. So that leads to confusion.
Right, for sure. One other thing I wanted to bring up too is this idea of changing the reporting range, from like a week to a month to a quarter. Yeah. And if you do that with no filters applied, the example I'm using here is this 24th to the 30th of March. Mm-hmm. For the US, you get 1.18 mil data rows. And if you change that to March, just the month of March, you get 812,000. So you actually get less results for a wider time frame. And you and I were discussing this before the call. I don't understand why that happens. That makes no sense to me. Logically, for a wider time frame, you'd assume there'd be more results.
Yeah, makes sense.
I can't say anything about that.
If people want to get hold of you and reach out to you, obviously explain you run your own PPC agency, etc.
Yeah, sure. We're at amzpathfinder.com. Been doing ad management since early 2015, and I personally live in France, and the team is in Europe. We focus a lot on the European market. So if you want to have a conversation about this or anything else related to ads, come talk to me.
And email address to reach you on?
You can email hello@amzpathfinder.com. That'll work. That'll come right to me.
Sounds good. Guys, thanks for joining us. Brent, thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget, we're about 7 or 8 weeks away from Seller Sessions Live. Grab your tickets at sellersessions.com/live, and we look forward to seeing you there. Take care.